Listen, you're not gonna find anything on me, okay? Trust me.
Empty your pockets into the tray, sir, or we'll have to. Your pockets, sir?
Lady, the problem isn't in my pants.
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes, and not a whole lot going on with Dawn of X this week. Giant Size X-Men Phantom X came out. I reviewed that on the channel. I liked it a whole lot. I guess there is an X-Men Empire comic book right now. Empire isn't good enough for me to read anything associated with it unless it's already in a comic that I'm reading, so I'm not going to check those out. But we do have some hanging plot threads, some that people don't like. I'm not a big fan of all the plant people stuff. There's some other things going on in Marauders and Excalibur that caused me to check out. But there is a lot of meat still left on the Dawn of X bone that Jonathan Hickman and company have created. And here with me to talk about that, of course, is the Marvel aficionado, the X-Men historian. Doc, how you doing?
I'm doing good, brother. I'm doing good. Phantom X was pretty good this week. It was easily the best of the giant size books so far.
Oh, yeah, it's not even a question.
Yeah.
I do want to say this to the viewers. If you're just arriving at the channel, you've been checking it out, but you haven't subscribed, make sure and hit the subscribe button. Hit that bell for notifications. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoy this video. Give us an enormous thumbs down if you hate it, and let Doc know why he's an idiot. He needs to know in the comments section below, and definitely give us some feedback. So getting back to this, like I said, it's been a slow burn so far for Dawn of X, and it gets a bit frustrating. But if you step back and you think about some of these amazing plot threads that were started kind of in House of X Powers of 10 or have been started within the early days of Dawn of X, we've got a lot of good stuff to talk about. And today, Doc and I are going to talk about 5 hanging plot threads that are waiting to be,
exploited
a little bit more here and there and really dive into. You ready to do this, Doc?
Absolutely, brother.
All right, the first one is really 2, so I am cheating, but I'm gonna combine them into one because they feel like they're a little bit related. And it's the Children of the Vault and the Techno-Organic virus. Obviously, the Children of the Vault, we saw them, I believe, in the first or second issue of X-Men, and then we obviously saw that in another issue of X-Men where Darwin and X-23 and there was another mutant, they went in there and they're trapped, and they've only got so much longer to live, and they have to find a way to get them out. Then with the Techno-Organic virus, we've seen Warlock. Obviously, he's with Cypher. I remember when Cypher touched a plant on Krakoa the first time he touched it. It looked like it maybe infected it. We've seen other people, including Storm, are infected with the Techno-Organic virus. It feels like Warlock's definitely interweaved with that, obviously, with Cypher. So that's some cool stuff. I definitely want to read more about the Children of the Vault.
I do too, because, first of all, I have always thought Children of the Vault were an interesting concept, especially with their connection to Sinister and Sinister's presence on the island, the way that they kind of exist in like this weird not time. It's really interesting. I always felt that they were a group that was not really explored well enough. Mike Carey did a pretty good job of it back in the when he was on the Adjectiveless X-Men book back in the day. It needs a lot more exploration, and I think that if you integrate it in with all the other techno-organic stuff, and especially if there's any connection to the kind of long ignored but central to House of X, Powers of X, Phalanx connection, I think that you might have there's a lot of meat on that bone to really explore. I want to know how long Laura and Darwin and who was the third that went in there? I can't remember. Well, Laura and Darwin and the third. I want to know how long they end up in there. What happens? What's going on in that vault? I feel like this is just the kind of the beginning of a much bigger question.
And it also ties directly into a lot of what was explored in House of X Powers of 10, where the ultimate threat to mutant survival was technological evolution within man. So it definitely plays within all those kind of themes and everything. It's very exciting. I can't wait till they explore that some more. All right, Doc, we can't go on these too long because we got 5 of them. The next one is maybe the most intriguing one, definitely one I can't wait to be explored. Moira and Charles do not allow precogs on the island of Krakoa. They do not want him to be resurrected. Obviously, this ties right into Mystique and her wife Destiny, who she desperately wants to come back. It feels like Mystique is going to turn on the X-Men because of this. But why won't Moira? And why is Charles going along with it? Why won't they allow precogs on the island or to be resurrected?
You know what? That's a great question. And it's one that I've been trying to figure out for, basically since the beginning of this Dawn of X thing. And I'm at a loss. I mean, the only thing that makes sense is they don't want their plans to be uncovered by somebody. They don't want them, they need to keep what they're going to be doing a secret from everyone else on the island for as long as they can, until they have to, for whatever reason. And I'm wondering whether or not it's like kind of like one of those, Doctor Strange in Endgame, where it had to go an exactly certain way. And since Moira's had these other lives, she has an idea of exactly how it needs to go. And we're still not even sure which life.
I think it's more sinister. I think that Moira has a plan with Apocalypse, and she doesn't want Charles to find out, but she's convinced him we can't have precogs because she doesn't want Charles to know what she's thinking. We know that he did search her mind one time, but she didn't let him see everything, and she won't let him access her mind again.
No, you could be right on that. I mean, it could be a much more sinister thing, and it would play into. I know we have one other big plot on this, and I think it may connect to that. But yeah, there's a lot of open questions with that. Why would they otherwise hide it? They're hiding it for a reason. It can't be a super nice reason.
Or it could just be that they don't want all the mutants to know that this is Moira's 8th or 9th stab at this, and they lose every single time.
I mean, yeah, that's always a possibility.
That's the least interesting reason for it. It's got to be something worse than that.
Yeah, it does. It's got to be something a little more shady,
juicy.
Yes, juicy, untoward. Just interesting. Especially with I don't know. I agree with you.
All right, let's move on to the third one that we kind of talked about. And I think this one, it just came out of the Fantastic Four X-Men miniseries that Chip Zdarsky wrote. Obviously, we know there's contentions between the Fantastic Four and the X-Men. It was in House of X #1. It certainly happened within Dawn of X as well, as they want Franklin, whose powers are waning. They want him on Krakoa. He's potentially the most powerful Omega-level mutant in the world. Omega-level mutants are the most valuable resource on Krakoa. He's finally there. But we know after he arrived, Charles and Magneto went and revisited Reed Richards in his laboratory because he had invented a way to mask Franklin Richards' X gene so he could not pass through Krakoa. Thus, he could, in theory, be able to cure or maybe remove an X gene from a mutant. So, in one of the most evil things I've seen Charles ever do, he actually mind wiped Reed Richards, but only that part. And he let him know, he let him remember that he did mind wipe him, that he manipulated his mind, and he took that information out of him, and he'll never remember it again. It felt so heinously evil, and I can't imagine that Reed Richards, the Fantastic Four, and most likely even the Avengers aren't going to need to talk about this and maybe get some retribution.
Yeah, there's no way that this just goes on and Reed understands, well, maybe I kind of deserve that. No, there is no way that they let this slide. There's no way that the rest of the human superhero community just, they've already shown that they're a little suspicious of Krakoa, and they're suspicious of the X-Men, and they're suspicious of mutants in general. They're especially suspicious of the way that Charles has been acting, going out and, mind wiping ostensibly somebody that's at least somewhat your friend, and then letting them know.
His superpower is intelligence. It would be like going out and removing Magneto's ability to manipulate metals or one type of metal.
Yeah, exactly. Or exactly, like, it's really significant. I mean, the way that Xavier crossed that line is incredibly significant, and there's no way that, especially a superhero community that's already incredibly suspicious of the mutants and Krakoa in general, is just going to let this slide. There's absolutely going to be some sort of repercussion, and I'm very curious how it ends up.
And I'll tell you, as a reader, I remember when I read that moment in that comic book, I got sick to my stomach at the actions that Charles Xavier took. It felt so evil to take a piece of a genius's powers away. He knew what he was doing, but I also think there's no way that Reed Richards didn't document what he had done. Now, he might not be able to remember or even understand exactly what it is anymore because that's been removed from him. But there is another genius in the Fantastic Four that I think might play a part of this later on. I think maybe Val will help him solve it. All right, so those are three really good, juicy plot threads. So we're going to get to kind of the two of the bigger ones. We know one of them is about to be addressed, and the one that we're about to talk right now. Who are Apocalypse's original four horsemen? It was definitely brought up in House of X Powers of 10, kind of explored a little bit. We know that they were sealed underneath Krakoa when Arakko, they had like demons and beasts coming out, and they went and held them back, and Apocalypse had to seal the hole and essentially leave his original four horsemen down there and kind of in torment. We know that they are coming back in Ten of Swords, the big overstuffed X-Men event that we certainly talked enough about the negatives in that, but I'm certainly excited to see these original horsemen. We've seen some pictures of them. It certainly plays into the origin of in Sabanor, kind of in Egypt. We see some pharaoh heads, things like that on these characters. I cannot wait to see who these original horsemen are. I imagine these aren't characters that we know, but maybe they are precursors to other types of characters that we know and what their end game is, because I don't think they're going to be happy when they return to the surface of the earth.
Now the initial kind of plot point about the original Horsemen, it seemed kind of like a throw-in. It was a cool little, Apocalypse already has a history with Krakoa, and he's been here dozens of times, so it's not like it's foreign territory for him. It seemed like that was kind of like a throw-in, just like kind of and his horsemen are, we're part of this thing. Now, they started hinting at it being a much bigger thing during some of those Sinister Secrets, but now, and I guess they've been hinting at it a lot more in Excalibur. I haven't been reading it, but having, I think that this is going to really start breaking open some of the staleness of the Dawn of X. I don't know if the story itself will, but I think resolving that plot is going to, I'm hoping we get at least a little bit of resolution from it. I would assume so in this event.
If my theory about Moira Etz is correct and that she and Apocalypse might be kind of colluding, we might finally get some revelation about what her role is to play in all this, as Apocalypse is probably going to side with his original Horseman. It's certainly mentioned specifically and hinted at a lot that he loves his original Horseman. Obviously, he saw the Summoner, the Son of War, and when he finally saw him for the first time, he hugged him, he embraced him, looked like he had a tear in his eye, and he wanted to know about his father.
Yeah, having that plot kind of pushing forward, I really think it's going to break some of the staleness and the stagnation that we've had in Dawn of X. I think it's really going to push things forward towards the next step of this X-Men brand.
All right, Doc. Well, here's the fifth one, and this is the one I could see a lot of people hate this. I'm not the biggest fan of this big plot that's being played out that we certainly need to have some resolution with. It certainly stands out. I think anybody that's read X-Men in the past that's reading this now can see it. I don't think you even have to read X-Men in the past to read this now. Just if you know who the X-Men are, it's just right in front of your face. Why is everybody so out of character? Why are they not heroes? Why are they doing all these things? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Every week, it seems like we're reminded that these aren't your X-Men, that there's something wrong with them. Now, is this the new status quo that Jonathan Hickman is trying to execute right now? Or he has to be planning something out, because they can't be this far off. Is it Krakoa doing this? Is it Moira X and Charles doing this? We know that Charles has essentially access to all their minds, and when they resurrect, he is part of the process of imprinting with them. Is he changing them? Is he doing something to them? We know that Krakoa has to feed on mutant powers to survive. Is Krakoa changing them to keep them there and kind of keep making them more evil? Is it another outside force? What the hell is wrong with the X-Men?
That is a goddamn good question, and it's one that has been plaguing me since day one. I mean, I know we're probably going to get some negative feedback on this one, but they're obviously not being written as the same characters. Now, is it an improvement? Is it not an improvement? I don't really care. That's not the question. It's why are they different? I'm curious, why are they different? Is this a necessary function of the life of Moira that needs to happen for the outcome that she's planning in order to avoid the inevitability of extinction for mutants because of evolution and technological advancement from the humans, and as well as the incursions of the phalanx? I don't know, but they are definitely different. The fact that it's not even really being addressed in the comics leads me to believe that this is intentional.
Well, Sue Storm did say those are not the X-Men to her husband.
Yeah, what I mean is nobody even on the island recognizes it. The only people that seem to recognize it are the other normal humans, well, human-ish superheroes from the superhero community, or people that knew them outside of that. And addressing that, I think, is central. You're at least
we did hear from Logan at one point where he said he thought that the island was the ultimate predator, that everyone feels safe here, and that's the worst thing that could happen at Krakoa, is because everyone feels safe. They've got their guards down, and I think Logan, if anybody on the island can tell something's off, it's him. He's the only one that's hinted at it.
I think you're right. But at the same time, even he has kind of fallen down that path a little bit too, with being a little out of character. He's not as out of character as a lot of the other ones, and it could be that he's central to figuring out what the solution is. I mean, he was the last one with Moira left in the way future, in that little garden back in House of X, Powers of X. So it could be that he's the least immune, like the most immune to whatever effects this is, because of his healing ability. And I think that's important. But even then, because the only real out of character thing that we've seen is when he's
the meat and Sammy Doc. He's in a 3-way.
Well, sort of, but he's
in a menage.
He's
a menage a trois. You know what I'm saying?
But the only thing we've seen so far is him fooling around with Jean, and he's always had a thing for Jean.
Come on, they've got a room. He's in the middle.
I understand that, but I'm just saying that
don't be a kid here, Doc. Be an adult. You know what's going on.
I'm being an adult, and I still refuse to accept that he's banging Scott.
Stop denying the truth that's in front of you, Doc.
He's not banging Scott.
I said he's the meat in the sandwich. I didn't say they were banging. Maybe they're just spooning. I don't know.
Well, then Jean should be the one in the middle, not Logan.
Well, that's because of your weird hetero norms. You're not thinking of it as a member, like, from Krakoa's perspective, Doc.
Fine, but regardless,
you and your stupid heteronormative fantasies. Obviously, it's Wolverine in the middle. He's
don't need to think about this anymore. I give up. But no, like, look, we're but I think that he's the least affected by everything, and at most he's just being kind of tempted so far on the island into just accepting this and not really questioning it, because he's getting what he wants when it comes to hooking up with Jean,
and he gets to go kill stuff,
So the Krakoa may be sitting there going, like, if this is a result of Krakoa's influence, maybe it's because he's the Krakoa is just kind of giving him what he wants in order so that he doesn't raise a big fucking stink about it.
All right, Doc. Well, those are our 5 big hanging Dawn of X plot lines. We know that the original Horsemen's about to be answered. I think we might get some information about Moira and Charles and Precogs in that story as well. That's certainly not confirmed at all. Now, this is for the viewers. If you have a plot line that you think is hanging out there that's even more interesting than these 5, please let us know in the comment section below. We definitely want to interact with you, want that feedback. We want everyone to kind of hear what you think about that. If you think we're a bunch of idiots, please let Doc know in the comments. He can't help his people, but he needs the feedback.
Yes, sir. I will gladly take the feedback.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you, Doc. I appreciate it. I'll see you next week.
All right, brother. I'll see you soon.